in 1943, height of the war, World War II, uh, I was 1A in the draft board like everybody else. The high school was slowly being evaporated by senior boys enlisting in the service. They enlisted because they had their choice of Army, Navy, or Marine Corps, Coast Guard. If you got drafted, you were pretty much U.S. Army. So they were enlisting in various services. Plus the fact that if a high school guy enlisted in the Navy and came back to Dixon High School in a uniform, instant popularity. I mean, you have to understand the atmosphere of World War II and amidst all rationing and things hard to get, and the daily news that you read in the papers about Americans getting killed or Americans advancing or whatever went on in the war, people were geared every day to that. Locally in Dixon, the weekly newspaper dedicated a column strictly for servicemen. They had news of servicemen. Somebody come home on leave, it was on the front page. And so Dixon was very much politically enhancing for the Navy, Army, Marine Corps, veterans. Anybody coming home that was in the service got his name on the front page. It was, Dixon was running daily transports to Mare Island. Dixon had a lot of people working at Mare Island. Mare Island was working 24 hours a day, so there were on Main Street different vehicles that would haul workers to Mare Island. So Dixon was in the middle of the war. And as far as I'm concerned, I was 1A, and I graduated in June of 1943, but I didn't turn 18. 18 was the deadline, the draftable age. I didn't turn 18 till November. So from June to November, I was a swinging young guy, and I had a car, and I didn't have much gasoline, but I had a few months slack time to enjoy life. But I thought about the Navy and I thought about the Marines, and I had my best friend had been shot in the Marine Corps already, and so I decided I'd join the Merchant Marine, which was the Merchant Marine was a bunch of, if I might say, civilians with military classifications that manned the supply ships that went to both sides of the United States. We actually were fighting two wars, the war in Germany and the war in Japan. Both East Coast and West Coast were active merchant marine people manning ships going over to the bases across both oceans. I got involved in a small ship operation that was north of Australia. The Japanese were ready to invade Australia. So anyway, I was involved in a small ship merchant marine organization, and we sailed across the Pacific on a 72-foot tugboat. I went up and down the coast of New Guinea, and then when MacArthur went into the Philippines, we towed a gasoline barge in to I forget what division it was, but anyway, we chopped the tow, and the gasoline barge was much needed for tanks, trucks, every vehicle the Army had, and the barge went up on the beach, and Army engineers were on it and pumped it out. And that supplied gasoline real quick to the very necessary operation of the invasion. Next came MacArthur's I want Manila and I want it fast. So the 6th Armored Division invaded Luzon, which is the longest island up that has Manila. And we were given another gasoline barge to supply the 6th Armored Division. And we towed that barge into Lingayen Gulf, large gulf that's open to the sea and not too deep. And with that situation, you get heavy surf, big surf. And there was a lot of shooting going on. In fact, last count was 40 ships, 40 vessels of all descriptions sunk they're on the bottom of the Lingayen Gulf. That includes landing barges and Navy ships and so everything. So our assignment was to put that barge up on the beach, which was huge surf, and it was going to carry that barge right up and drop it off just where they wanted it. We cut the tow on it, and our tug got involved in what they call a broach, which is in the trough of a huge, great big, gigantic wave. And myself and 2 guys went over the side, and we were in the water about half a mile from the beach. Plus, this great big gasoline barge was cut loose, and it was in the rough water. So the only thing that saved me was the water was warm, and I was trying to swim in back of that barge because the barge was kind of breaking some of that surf. Anyway, there was a lot of shooting going on, but I was immune to that because I was trying to save my life by swimming. Anyway, the barge hit the beach and stuck, and I tried to swim around that barge, but I was out of gas, and I virtually gave up. Then every wave would hit the barge and go over the top of it, and I managed to go back out with a backwash of the wave. So I finally went around the other side of the barge, and my feet hit sand, and I thought, oh God, I made it. But that was not the story, because the heavy undertow grabbed my feet, yanked me underwater for about another, I don't know how many feet. I just gave up. But the second time my feet hit the sand, I felt a bunch of hands grabbing me by the shoulders. They were Filipinos who lived up very close to the beach. Anyway, they were there in spite of the shooting. They dragged me up on the beach, and I thought I was dead, but I woke up. I laid there for about 4 hours. Finally, I could sit up, and the Filipinos dragged me to their house, which was located near the beach. And believe it or not, I stayed there for 4 days. And they fed me, and there was a lot of shooting going on. And finally, I made it back to the tug. The tug was in a kind of a protected anchorage. And it was there that the Japanese came over and blew the gasoline sky high. They dropped 2 500-pound bombs on that gas barge, and that was the biggest explosion and fire I ever saw. Everything went up in a ball of flame, and we were under a lot of shooting, a lot of air raids. Every night they'd fly over. The shore batteries had them on spotlights, and you could see the Japanese airplanes, you can see the bomb bay doors open up on them, and bombs coming out of the bottom, thinking, hope to Christ they don't fall on me, you know. And the bombs never did come close to me, but anyway, that was a very, very treacherous part of my life that I made it through it, and I'm lucky to be here because the Japanese people were sharp in the fact that there's a lot of mountains up there in the Lingayen Gulf. And they had a gun, they had a trench and a tunnel dug in the mountain, railroad tracks in there. They had a gun that they'd undo the cover with, take the trees off of the opening of the tunnel and wheel that gun out and pump cannon shot amongst the ships, and then wheel it back in and cover it up, and you couldn't see anything. It was a real challenge. The Navy was shooting big rounds. When the Navy would fire off big rounds, you could hear the projectiles going over. They'd go shoo, shoo, shoo. Once you heard that, you look up, you could see a projectile going from one of the Navy's big guns. So I was into all that stuff, and anyway, I made it through, and at my ripe old age, I finally got a medal from the Congress, which, yeah, okay, I'll take it. I think I deserve it.
There you go.
That's it. Thank you.
Get his medal there so he can show it to the camera.
You saw MacArthur there when he came to the Philippines, right?
I saw MacArthur in Manila.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that. Tell us about seeing MacArthur.
Oh, well, he was in a...
How did you happen to be there?
How did I happen to see him?
Yeah, tell the whole story.
Well, if you know something about Manila and the Japanese occupation thereof, it was a very, very sad event. If you were a civilian in the Philippine Islands and the Japanese suddenly took over, you were a captive of the Japanese. Santo Tomas was the most popular Japanese or Filipino university. That was a high-grade education for Filipinos, this university. Santo Tomas University had a big wall clear around it with a gate. And the Japanese used that as a prison camp. And the people that were in there for the duration of the war were living skeletons. I've been in there. I've been right amongst the prisoners. I've been there because there was a guy from Dixon interred there. And I was in there with his name, and the occupation forces, MacArthur, just as soon as he got Manila back, he catered to those internees. Give them everything they need to get them back, get them healthy again. They were all skeletons. I went in there with this Dixon man's name, and immediately they said, yes, we do have him. And just try to, but no, some other paperwork said they shipped him down to Bilibad, 50 miles south of Manila, a prison camp. They shipped him down to Bilibad with orders to kill them all. He was liberated by special forces, U.S. Army Special Forces, that knew about Bilibad, and the special forces hit to that prison camp and got he and the rest of them out, saved their life. it wasn't a very pleasant situation to see what the Japanese did to the Filipinos. If a Filipino was walking down the street, they'd shoot him. The body would lay right there on the sidewalk. Females, women, Filipino women that were compatible with Japanese soldiers and had a baby, the Filipino women would kill their baby, part Japanese. Wasn't very nice. I've been through a pretty bad stage of my life. And yeah, I got vivid memories, but here I am at my ripe old age. Thank you.
You saw MacArthur. How did you?
I went face to face with MacArthur, like I'm from me to you. I was standing on a street corner and outside of Santa Tomas prison, and here's MacArthur in a 1942 Lincoln Continental, Army blue. He was sitting right in the back seat, and I'm standing right here, me to you. Driver took off. Douglas MacArthur, me. I didn't even salute him. He took off.
You were looking eye to eye for a bit.
He looked at me eyeball to eyeball. Doug MacArthur. Everybody called him Dugout Doug. Have you ever heard of that? That's wrong. That's wrong. The proper call was Duck Out, Doug, because he left the Philippines and left the other Corregidor and all those guys. I sailed right past Corregidor. I also, when I sailed into Manila Bay, the 6th Fleet was in there, the 6th U.S. Navy Fleet, battleships, all these Navy ships, and every one of those ships had the flag at half-mast. There was not one ship that had the flag up. Every ship was half-mast. We got on our radio, what's going on? Our president was dead. Franklin Roosevelt had died. Now, as I sit here, I'm going to tell you, I thought we're going to lose the war. People my age in World War II knew nobody else but President Roosevelt. The New Deal, Herbert Hoover and Wendell Willkie, and if you know anything about history, Franklin Roosevelt brought the United States out of a depression. Franklin Roosevelt was my president. He was dead. He was dead. I get emotional because I was not the only one that said we're going to lose this war. That's an opinion of a guy who has been through hell out there. Okay? Anyway, I'm 96 years old and I made it. I made it the hard way, and so that's it. Yeah.
Well, the fellow that took over for FDR came from Kansas City, Ammo. Not Kansas City, Kansas, but Kansas City, Missouri.
Harry Truman.
Harry Truman was a city councilman in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah, but
in his early political life.
Yeah, now just take this with a grain of salt, and please absorb my language. But Harry Truman, that son of a bitch, denied my people veterans' rights. He denied us any kind of financial help. We were standing side by side by guys who were getting shot at. That guy denied us any right.
Yeah,
The Merchant Marine lost more people than the Marines did.
He came out of the
Well,
Pendergast political machine in Kansas
yeah,
City, a really corrupt, a
yes,
really
yes,
corrupt
he did. Yeah,
organization.
and there was a guy named Inoue, a Japanese guy, born and raised as an American in Honolulu. Inoue was some kind of a secretary of the military or something, and he said, no merchant marine gets anything.
Well, let's do this.
Anyway, hope you understand me, you
Oh,
know.
I do, yeah,
Yeah.
sure I do. And
Show the camera your medal here.
Oh, well, you'd have to,
you'll have to bring it up right under your chin for the camera.
yeah, this is a final recognition. I could say,
I got it.
uh,
Okay, tilt it a little this way.
is that right?
Tilt it a little toward the camera.
Pick it up if you want.
Well,
It's solid gold.
Okay, tell us about the medal.
Tell us about the medal. How
this is a congressional medal. It was one of the highest awards in the United States. It's issued by the Congress, and I received this from Congressman Garamendi, amongst a few of the other veterans of World War II. So, incidentally, it's solid gold. Okay?
Are there any other stories from your merchant marines days that you'd like to share?
Oh, I got a lot of them, you know, but,
Anything that really stands out
well,
that you'd like to your grandchildren, your great grandchildren to hear about?
I don't think I'll have any grandchildren. But,
well, you already
I
have a
feel-
lot of grandchildren.
well, I got one, but Bill, yeah, all my kids are growing up. They're well into the adult stage.
Yeah, but you have grandchildren. You have great grandchildren right now.
Oh yeah, I do. I'm missing some of that,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about kind of on a daily
Yeah.
basis.
I
When I'm 96 and I'm gonna say this and blow a little smoke my way because the people my age that were World War II veterans are not healthy people. I mean, they're either in a rest home, their mental capacity is not, I mean, they're extreme age. And this honor that I got, it's too bad we didn't get it years ago. But such as it is, it's you can always say that something is better than nothing. So that's it.
You know, your trip to Normandy in '95, that was a good experience for you, to take that old ship back to Europe.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how the people accept the Americans, even after 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were at Le Havre, France, and we were invited to different people's homes so they could feed us dinner and socialize with us. They really appreciated what America did.
Yeah.
Europe is flooded with, you talk about antique cars, why they've got battalions of restored military vehicles. When we left Le Havre, it looked like the Sixth Army was ready to ship out. Anyway, yeah.
So that was a great feeling for you to go back with that ship and feel the love of the European people.
Oh yeah. Well, that was the first time I'd been in Europe. I don't know what they do in Manila if we organized and visited Manila, but the Filipinos were equally as glad to
Yeah.
celebrate with the Americans for the end of the war. Anyway,
But that Jeremiah O'Brien was a big part of your life after you retired from the fire department. I mean, you got together with
oh
all
yeah,
your World War
yeah.
II
Well, it was
people.
the closest thing as a World War II relic, you know.
Yeah.
And we'd sail it around the bay, and it was a great reunion type thing for merchant seamen, and
Yeah.
we carry on today with get-togethers.
Yeah. To follow to end it, maybe tell me about when you came into Portland, Maine with that ship, where they built that ship.
Well, yeah, it was met by 5,000 people, but we also sailed that ship down the East River in New York City, underneath the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah.
Amidst you talk about canyons of steel. Here's New York City,
Yeah.
and the people honking automobile horns, and here's this World War II ship going right down
Yeah.
the East River in New York City.
That's one of a kind.
That beats the hell out of the Hudson River.